This is music, and this is the return of the Mac. It's really the return of the first impressions videos after a bit of a break, and it's a special edition. Now, normally in these videos I share with you my first impressions of the many CDs that I've blind bought over the last couple of years, but in this episode it's a bit of a follow-up on a really awesome VCLT that the legend of the VC himself, the mighty Metal Marty Mac, check out his channel, it's awesome, sent to me a while ago. Really awesome VCLT with some cassettes and some CDs in it, and I've had a chance to listen to everything now, and now I'll share with you my first impressions of it. I'm cheating a bit because two of the items I was already familiar with them, but I figured it would make sense to include them anyways. Let's start with the cassette tape. So up first, Misplaced Childhood. So this was one that I already knew quite well because this is now a hat trick. I have it on all three formats that I collect. Cassette tape, thanks to Marty. I also have it on CD and I have it on vinyl as well. So Marillion, prog rock, and fantastic prog rock at that. This is a great album. Now what I like about Marillion is that it's prog rock, it's sophisticated, it's food for thought, it's not simple, all that stuff that we all like about it. Well, those of us who like prog rock, that we all like about it. But Marillion also managed to bring in a lot of emotionality. They managed to play with the emotions and with moods and things like that. So it's not just technical. They have the musicianship, they compose songs that are unusual and apart from the mainstream, and they do, whenever the song calls for it, they throw in some odd time signatures and stuff like that, and they do that on this one too. But for the most part, this is music that appeals both to the brain and to the emotions, and all the songs on here are great. There's a lot of melody, a lot of melancholy actually as well, and then you have some flourishes every now and then of odd time signatures to just kind of shake things up. So this one is great. Do check it out if you like prog rock. Okay, up next, this one here, Blood Rage, Welcome to Crimson Pines. So this is death metal. By the way, it looks like this cool label, and of course the Marillion one is kind of this kind of old school chrome, I think they were called, kind of cassette tapes, which were, I saw a lot of those back in the 80s. Anyways, so this is death metal, and you got 8 tracks on here, but as you can see, not a whole lot of tape, so they are short, concise, and great stuff. What I like about this is it's quite riffy, and it has quite an old school feel, especially to the riffs, but you also have like more modern elements, like lots of blast beats and stuff like that. So some great death metal songs with some disturbing sound bites from probably from movies and special effects and stuff like that. I mean, because it does say horror, and as you can see, the cover artwork is pretty violent and gory, so you know what to expect. But musically, quite old school death metal with a very, in my opinion, old school guitar tone as well. But then, like I said, some more modern elements as well in the form of some blast beats every now and then. I also do think that there are some elements of brutal death metal, although we're not talking slam or whatever it's called, slamming death metal. You do have some riffs that are probably caveman death metal riffs. To be honest, I've kind of given up on all these weird death metal subgenres like cavernous death metal, caveman death metal, brutal death metal, slamming death metal, cosmic death metal. You have to be more of an expert than I am, because I just enjoy the music to kind of navigate all those subgenres. But this sounds like very old school death metal with, like I said, some modern elements every now and then. The vocals are maybe to some extent the weak part, because they are like guttural, they're deathy, but they're also quite monotonous. But you did have a lot of death metal back in the 90s where the vocal style was like that as well. And it is mixed up with some screams and some other, types of harsh vocals. But overall, this is a banger of a death metal album, especially if you like kind of old school sounding death metal. Lots of old school death metal riffage on here for sure. So definitely it's recommended. Something completely different, Things You've Never Done Before by Rock's Gang. And yeah, quite different, because this is hard rock, sleaze metal, glam metal. Very, very good stuff, I would say. And I think I've heard this before. I've heard some of the songs. Scratch My Back, I could certainly recognize that, just the chorus. So maybe I've heard that because I can imagine that was a hit. So it's probably kind of been playing in the radio or something like that. But other than that, I don't know this band. But yeah, this is great, catchy, uplifting glam metal / hard rock. There's a bit of Motley Crue stuff going on, a bit of Kicks stuff going on, a bit of Cinderella, I would say, as well. I'm not saying these guys are ripping off those bands, they're just my points of reference. You have some great songs here. I would say Scratch My Back is probably the one I like the most. It's the most catchy one, it's the most memorable one. But you have some other great hard rocking songs. It kind of goes back and forth between like having an AC/DC feel, especially on the vocals, and having more of a glam feel. But it is glam, I would say. You do have some silly stuff like Need Your Sex. That's a bit of a dumb song lyrically, but it's a fun song musically as well. You have some ballads on here, and yeah, I don't really like power ballads normally, but there's one of the ballads on here. I can't remember which one, but one of them I actually quite enjoyed. So the vocals are they're serviceable. I would say they're not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but they're nothing out of the ordinary either, I would say. But they fit the music pretty well. The music itself, like I said, fun, uplifting, glam metal, hard rock. Really enjoyed listening to this as well. And I guess in a similar vein, Dirty White Boy, Bad Reputation. And there's another Chrome tape here, I think they're called. Yeah, so this is also hard rock. Maybe it comes across a bit less glammy because it's called Dirty White Boy. It's actually very good stuff. It has a bit more of a harder edge than Rock's Gang, I would say. But it's very similar in style in that it's hard rock. It's uplifting, it's fun, it's catchy. The musicianship is pretty good, I would say. There's a kind of a I don't know if I would call it a ballad per se, but there's a song on here called Hard Times, which I quite enjoy. And I don't know if any of you have watched the video where I unboxed this. I kind of joked a bit about Dirty White Boy perhaps being the wrestler from Smoky mountain wrestling. Of course, Hard Times was a famous promo cut by Dusty Rhodes. So I don't know, pro wrestling? No, but good, fun, catchy, great hard rock on this one too. So I really enjoyed all of the cassette tapes. They were great. So thanks, Marty, for sending me those. There were also 4 CDs. So let's look at those. So this one, the Prophecy, it's actually the Prophecy 23, but I didn't notice the 23 when I unboxed it. And this one is To the Pit. So as you can see, they're going for a revivalist thrash metal aesthetic and crossover thrash too. And they pay homage to, you know, old school 80s and early 90s thrash metal for sure, but to my ears it is modern thrash, 2000s 2010s modern thrash metal with the modern sound, but you know, like I said, they pay a lot of homage to traditional 80s and early 90s thrash, so you have lots of that style of old school riffage for sure, but it is intertwined with more modern thrash metal riffage. Some of, I would say there are even some, you know, thrashy metalcore elements, not a whole lot, but there are some every now and then on here. You got fun song titles like A Backpack Full of Flesh Snacks. There's a song called Mind Your Own Shit. That one is actually pretty good. There is Honor, Torture, War, and that last one, that's an all-out, you know, old school crossover thrash song. But great modern thrash metal, but at the same time a love letter to traditional thrash metal. I tend to refer to this style of thrash as revivalist thrash metal because they revived thrash metal, and they did pay a lot of homage to the old school, but it was with a modern sound and influences from contemporary metal as well. And you get that here. Now, one thing that's interesting is they have 2 vocalists, and they're listed as death vocals and thrash vocals. So you got these 2 different singing styles. So this is the bass player who does death vocals as well, and here you have one of the guitarists who does thrash vocals. So what does that mean? So the death vocals to me sound, to be quite frank, more like deathcore vocals, and the thrash vocals are very similar to the angry, shouty crossover thrash vocals that you would hear back in the old school. And I have to admit, it took me a couple of songs to just, you know, get my ears adjusted to the deathcore style. But they actually work together pretty well, those 2 different styles of singing. It's in the song called Modification, in the chorus, you got a pretty good example of that. So, you know, by the 4th track, Immortal Attitude, my ears had adjusted to the deathcore style vocals, and you know, it works very well. One thing that I also really like about this is you got melody popping up in the most surprising places. So the song Immortal Attitude has lots of melody as well, and some of this is perhaps an influence from melodic death metal. But yeah, the Prophecy 23, To the Pit, great revivalist and fun revivalist thrash metal from 2010. So there you go. Okay, the next one, that's another kind of cheat in a way. Contagious Free Indeed. I already know this one. I didn't have it on CD, so I'm glad to have it on CD. But I know this one. And this is Christian metal with really goofy band pictures. And this is quite preachy. You got Children of the Father. You got Hebrews 13:8. That's a song title. You got To the King Turn, right? So you have lots of Christian values being sung about here, and the lyrics are very preachy, to the point that I think a lot of people will find it too much and too cheesy. Of course, if you are like in fellowship with these guys, of course the message will resonate with you, and that's fine. To me, it is a bit cheesy, and the preachiness is a bit over the top. But that's why I also kind of enjoy it. Like I can enjoy the cheesiness of it. Musically, there's nothing wrong with this. This is solid, enjoyable, traditional heavy metal that you can enjoy if you're a fan of 80s metal. Of course, if you have a hard time abstracting from the lyrics and it's not your cup of tea, I fully understand why you wouldn't enjoy listening to this. But I enjoy listening to the music. Apart from To the King Turn, pretty terrible ballad in my opinion. So cheesy that even I can't enjoy it. But the rest, yeah, good fun. There's a bit of a discrepancy between the fighting the good fight, uplifting, if you are in fellowship with these guys, kind of uplifting message, and then heavy metal music. But like I said, cheesy, preachy, but so cheesy that it can be kind of enjoyable. The music itself, nothing wrong with that. Solid, heavy metal from the 80s. Okay, back to the world of thrash metal. Here we have Throne of Control by Bloodkill. This is also modern thrash metal with a modern sound. And this is great. The songs are well composed, well performed. It has a very crisp, modern production, which I know is what some people would consider clinical, but I do appreciate that kind of precise production when it comes to kind of like modern thrash metal. You have just some great songs on here. Enjoyable thrash metal for sure. And up last, Rabbits, Lower Forms. This is sludge metal, and it's really heavy. It has a really fuzzy and bottom heavy guitar tone. I don't even think they have a bass player, to be honest, but it's still so heavy and bottom heavy that I thought first, when I first heard the first couple of notes, that wait a minute, don't they have guitars? It's just two basses. But I think it's two guitars. I'm not sure though. Very, very fuzzy. Very slow. Some of it very doomy. But you do also have some blast beat parts as well, and some mid-tempo parts. The vocals are angry screams and shouts, to the point that by the last couple of songs the vocals get a bit annoying to me, but other than that, this is heavy, it's noisy. If you like sludge metal, this is definitely something that you should probably check out and see if you like it. So there you go, bit of a mixed bag, and that's what I really like about this VCLT. Of course, I appreciate that Marty sent me this VCLT just to begin with. I'm always full of gratitude towards him for that, so thanks, Marty. But I also like that, you know, you got some prog rock, you got some glam, sleaze, you got some hard rock, you got some death metal, you got some revivalist thrash, and you have some Christian stuff and some sludge. So a nice musical journey. So again, thanks to Marty for sending me this VCLT. It's awesome. I really appreciate it. If any of this sounds like it's interesting to you, do check it out. Thanks for watching.